All right, I'll give it a few moments to propagate. All right, hello everybody. I see we have some attendees coming in. I'm just going to wait another few seconds to see everything propagate there. And okay, that's good. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the February 1st, 2021 CAC meeting for the month of February. I'll say Happy New Year since it's technically our first meeting of the year because the last meeting was canceled. So welcome. My name is Evan Zelig. I am the current elected chair for the CAC. We are also joined by Lorena Barrera, who is the vice chair currently for the CAC. And we will co-facilitate this meeting like we have in the past. Thank you everybody for taking the time to be here, both to our CAC panelists as well as the attendees that I see coming online now. We did not have any requests for Spanish translation. If we happen to get any requests during our meeting, Melanie, please let me know and I'll make the necessary announcements in Spanish. But we have not received any requests for translation for this meeting. So we're going to be doing public comments a little different from these meetings going forward. Because of the passage of Measure P, we are now considered a little bit of a different type of board for purposes of the Brown Act. So we are going to do public comment a little bit different. Public comment, I'll let you know, members of the public are free to address the CAC. Public comments should fall under the subject matter jurisdiction of the CAC, as noted in the founding documents or in the Measure P documents. Public comment is time limited and applies to action items specified on the agenda. Time limitations are at the discretion of the director and the chair and may be adjusted to accommodate all speakers. Oral public comment on agenda items is available during CAC meetings. And the public is also invited to communicate with IOLERO staff and CAC members through email. Members of the public who would like to make statements that may exceed the time limits for public comment, suggest topics to be placed on future agendas, or suggest questions to be raised, may send an email addressing these matters to law.enforcement.auditor@sonoma-county.org. CAC members may not deliberate or take action on items not on the agenda and generally may only listen. Should CAC members wish to deliberate, that issue may be placed on a future agenda for discussion, and materials relating to an item on the agenda submitted to us after our discussions will be made available during the business hours following our meeting. For public comment tonight, I will say that we are going to have public comment after every one of our agenda topics. So for example, we will take brief public comments after the director's report. We will take brief public comments prior to electing our chair and vice chair. We will have public comments from people specifically regarding the chair and then specifically regarding the vice chair. And then we will take public comments after our discussions about our planning for 2021 and the meetings going forward. Each of those public comments items will only be related to the agenda item that it is concerning. So when we take public comments regarding the chair elections, we only want public comment specifically regarding the comments about the chair or the vice chair as we take them when we do. At the end of our meeting, we will then open up for more general public comment, which can be anything not on the agenda or within the subject matter jurisdiction of the CAC. So for those who wanted to know about public comment, that's what we're going to be doing moving forward. For tonight, we will take public comment after each agenda item. We will allow 2 minutes per speaker. For the public comment at the end of the evening, that is more general, we will allow 3 minutes per speaker, which of course may be adjusted depending on how many people we have and our time constraints. Okay. Lorena, would you please read our design team alliance for the CAC?
Sure.
Thank you.
We, the CAC, have adopted a design team alliance. All are encouraged to engage in respectful, non-disruptive communication that supports freedom of speech and values diversity of opinion. The Design Team Alliance is a list of norms which describes the way the CAC wants to show up and be in community while modeling collaborative behavior. We request that CAC members, staff, and the public follow the CAC's agreed upon Design Team Alliance, which is to be tough on the topic, not on people, respect others' perspective, respect time, practice active listening, be open-minded, speak to others as you would like to be spoken to, honor freedom of speech, and call each other in.
Great, thank you very much. Lorena, do you also mind doing our roll call for this evening?
No, of course. For roll call, I will start with Councilmember Bailey.
Present.
Councilmember Estrada.
Present.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Present.
Councilmember Landaverde.
Present.
Councilmember Roman Diaz.
Present.
Yeah. I am Vice Chair Barrera and Chair Zelig.
Thank you. Okay, great. Full meeting. Awesome. Now let's go on to approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting, which was on December 7th. Did anybody not receive a copy of the minutes that was sent out earlier by Adriana? Okay, I hear no responses. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes of December 7th?
So moved, or I'll make the motion to approve
That's
the minutes.
Lorena Barrera making the motion. Is there a second to that motion?
I second. Or Jose.
I saw Jose's hand. I think I heard somebody else as well, but okay. Jose Landaverde does second that motion. All those in favor of approving the minutes on December 7th, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Okay, and David, I know you're on audio only. I did hear that as well. Is there anybody who does not approve the minutes? Raise your hand and say nay or no. Okay, and I hear no responses to that. So those meeting minutes are approved from December 7th. Next, let's turn to the next item, which is Colleen Navarro's director's report. Hi, Colleen.
Hey everyone, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Your head's nodding. So I have a few items to provide updates about tonight. First, I want to address the public comment situation very briefly because I know Evan talked about it quite a bit already. As you heard, the CAC will be handling public comment a little differently. I wanted to briefly follow up and explain that this change was made because County Council has changed their advice to IOLERO about the Brown Act and public comment at CAC meetings. Last year, I was advised that the CAC should hold public comment only after action items and at the end of the meeting. And that's the way that the CAC has been proceeding. Now, County Council is advising that because the CAC will be appointed by the supervisors under Measure P, the applicability of the Brown Act rules have changed and public comment should come after each item on the agenda. Since Measure P went into effect on January 7th, the CAC obviously will start implementing this new rule starting tonight. Second, I wanted to let you know that IOLERO has initiated its first independent investigation under its new Measure P authority. As you may recall, last June, about 110 protesters were arrested during the protests against police brutality in Santa Rosa. The complaints received involving the sheriff's office were related to the conditions at the jail when the protesters were booked and released at the jail. The jail handled those complaints as grievances, and IOLERO will be following up with an independent investigation. And we've contracted with a private investigator, and that work is underway. Next, I wanted to let you all know that I've been working on a Measure P implementation update to be held in public at the Board of Supervisors meeting. The tentative date of the presentation is February 23rd, but I have not yet received confirmation that IOLERO has been put onto the board's calendar for that day. So I will provide you with updates via IOLERO's newsletter and at the CAC meetings and let you know when I know when that presentation will take place. Lastly, I wanted to give an update on the CAC and some of the ways it'll be changing after Measure P. So as you know, Measure P provides that IOLERO and the CAC shall now function as independent bodies. Accordingly, we will be shifting over the next few months to a more independent relationship. In the past, the CAC was advisory to IOLERO. So IOLERO took a more active role in the agenda planning, procuring guests for the meetings, providing training, etc. Moving forward, IOLERO will provide staffing and administrative support for the CAC, meaning Melanie and Adriana will continue to take minutes, prepare agendas, post minutes and agendas to the website, set up Zoom links, and book locations when we're able to have these meetings in person again in the future. However, I want you all to be able to take a full advantage of being an independent community advisory council. So the department will transition out of the more active role it has historically taken involving CAC matters. I want this to be a smooth transition for all of you. So the department is here to provide you with support while we make those changes over the next few months. So feel free to reach out anytime if you have questions or concerns about that. Lastly, as you also may know, the Board of Supervisors will now make 10 of the 11 appointments to the CAC. I've spoken about this with the board. I reached out to them back in November about it for the first time, and we've had some discussions about it since then. I've sent all of the applications that IOLERO has received for the CAC to the board, and applications are posted on the left-hand side of the Board of Supervisors website under a link that says boards, commissions, committees, and task forces. So if you go to Google and you type in Sonoma County Board of Supervisors, you go to their website, and on the left-hand side, you'll see this link for boards and commissions. You can locate the CAC link and application there if you're interested in applying for the CAC. Once the board is ready and an agenda item will be prepared and appointments will be made. So that is, pending them being ready to make their appointments. And then it takes us, there's a process to getting things on the board agendas. So, a good 4 weeks after that, once they're ready. I'll continue to make the 11th appointment to the CAC. So IOLERO's application is still posted to IOLERO's website. And that is all of the updates I have tonight.
Thank you very much, Colleen. Okay, now we will open up for brief public comment. This is going to be public comment that is opened only to comment on the report that was just made by Colleen Navarro and anything relating to specifically that report that was just made. All other public comment will come at a later time toward the end of our agenda tonight. But if there are those who wish to make any public comments on the last report made by Colleen, please raise your hand on the Zoom app and we will go through and select those. Okay, I do see one hand up. Michael, I believe they're gonna let you on, and once you're able to talk, please go ahead with your 2 minutes of public comment. Please state your name and then we will begin the 2 minutes.
Hi, this is Michael. This is a question for Colleen. Are you opening an investigation into the conditions in the county jail that prompted the hunger strike recently? I saw some comments in the Press Democrat about that, and that someone had called reporting that incident, but I've not seen if there was an actual investigation that was opened into the conditions that created that hunger strike. And I think it would be very important to listen to people who are in the jails and make sure that there isn't that that their concerns are being, adequately investigated by this board. I'm going to yield the rest of my time.
So I know that was not relating to a topic that was addressed by Ms. Navarro, but Colleen, do you want to address that?
So, Mr. Tatone, generally speaking, we're not supposed to answer questions during public comment. It's not a question and answer period, but please send me an email at carlene.navarro@sonoma-county.gov. And I have a response that I can provide you with. I have been discussing the hunger strike situation with management at the jail. So I have some information I can give you about that.
Great, thank you. Are there any other public comments for, again, solely related to the director's report that was just given? Okay, oh wait, Colin Metcalf, I do see your hand up. Go ahead when you're able to speak, and you'll have 2 minutes for public comment on this issue.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, cool. I'll be real quick. I'm very gratified to hear that you're gonna be moving ahead with this investigation of the way folks were treated. It sounds like post-arrest and in jail during the summer's protests. I heard a number of firsthand accounts, and I'm sure you have as well, through probably both written complaints, and I'm assuming you're probably talking to people one-on-one as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing your report. Thanks.
Thank you, Colin. Okay, not seeing any other hands raised through the Zoom app, I will go on to our next item on the agenda. So I'm closing public comment for that item. Now we're going to go on to our election of officers. This is for the nomination of chair and vice chair, who will act in those positions as the elected chair and vice chair for the next year until the following elections. We previously asked for nominations to be sent by CAC members to Melanie for both the chair and vice chair position. So I'll check at this point if Melanie has received by email any nominations for the chair position.
I have nominations for Evan Zelig for chair.
That's the only one received by email so far?
Yes.
Okay. Was that nomination seconded by email, or should I open it up at that point?
I believe we received 2 nominations for Evan.
That is correct.
I will now open the floor to ask if there are any other CAC members who wish to offer a nomination for anybody else to be the chair of the CAC from this point going forward. Are there any additional nominations to be had? Okay, I hear no response. We will now take public comment on the one nomination that has been issued for myself, Evan Zelig, to be elected chair for the next year. I will open up for a 2-minute public comment. I do see there is somebody raising their hand. It's a phone number starting 703. When you are permitted to talk, please go ahead. You'll have 2 minutes. Please state your name if you wish.
Hi, it's Jim Duffy. I think Evan's a great guy. I do think it is a mistake not to have a person of color as the chair of the CAC due to the intersectionality of police violence and police misconduct that is more often than not perpetrated upon people of color. Very often when I was serving on the CAC for 3 years, people would come up to me and try and file a complaint with me in public, and I would have to refer them to the office. And I just worry that I want people to feel comfortable coming up to the chair to file a complaint, and then they would be redirected to Carleen. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jim. Are there any other public comments? I see Susan Lamont. Susan, when you're able to talk on that
Okay.
Zoom app, go ahead. Oh, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, this isn't really about you, but this is about the procedure itself. Last time you nominated people, the vote was held in secret. And the CAC never operated that way in the past. The Board of Supervisors does not operate that way. City councils do not operate that way. I am wondering why it is necessary to hold this vote in secret. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, I don't see any additional hands going up. We will now turn to Melanie again. Melanie, did you receive any nominations by email for the vice chair position?
We received nominations for Lorena Barrera and for Lorez Bailey.
Were those nominations seconded at all, or is that something that we need to address here as well?
I'm going to put that one to Adriana if she has any other information.
You will need to ask for a second motion.
Okay, great. As to the nomination of Lorena Barrera, is there a second to that nomination? And
A
Lorez
second.
Bailey, I see, has seconded that nomination.
Okay.
And as to Lorez Bailey, is there a second of that nomination? And I see Alma Roman Diaz has seconded that as well. Okay. I will now open up for public comment. To allow public comment specifically, oh yeah, Lorena?
Don't we have to do an acceptance of the nomination? Like, what if, one of us doesn't want to take on that role or something?
Sure, yeah, that is a great point. I did not want to assume that, and I thank you for drawing my attention to that. Lorena, do you accept the nomination as vice chair for the next CAC term?
Yes, I accept.
Thank you. And Lorez, do you also accept the nomination to act as vice chair for the next CAC term if elected?
I greatly appreciate the nomination, but I defer. Thank you. That means no, thank you. I
Okay.
love Lorena. She's doing a great job.
So at this point, Lorez is removing her name from the vote. Is that correct, Lorez? Okay. Are there any other nominations from, and I should have done this before opening up to the public, sorry. Are there any other nominations from our CAC panel for anybody else to be the vice chair of the CAC? Okay, I hear nothing in response. Okay, so I will now open up for public comment for 2 minutes. If anybody wants to give public comments on the election of the vice chair position, please go ahead and raise your hands on the app and we will get you in here. Okay, I see no responses. So at this point, the way we have discussed taking the vote is the same way that we did do it last time. This vote is being done in this way as opposed to the way we used to have them at CAC meetings because of our appearances here on the Zoom platform. And in order for us to tabulate the votes, to have Melanie tabulate those votes. So what is being asked now is if everybody could send an electronic mail message to Melanie where you are voting for the chair. The one person up for vote is Evan Zelig, myself, and also a vote for vice chair. And right now the person nominated is Lorena. Please go ahead and send any comments or votes to Melanie at this time. And certainly, if you choose not to vote, that is also something you can do as well. But please send something to Melanie so she knows she has something from you. And Melanie, will you let us know when you have received those votes and are ready to discuss?
Here they come.
Ooh.
Hey, I have all but one CAC member vote. So let me see. Hold on. Okay. All right, we have them all. The votes are in. They are anonymous for Evan Zelig for chair and for anonymous. What's the word? I'm old. I've forgotten the word.
Unanimous.
Unanimous. Thank you. And for Lorena Barrera as vice chair.
Thank you, Melanie.
You're welcome. Thanks for the help with the word.
Did we lose Evan? Okay.
It looks like we did. Okay, so in the meantime, I can proceed while Evan hops back on. Probably lost connection due to the weather. So it's official. We have our remaining chair and vice chair. Oh, Evan's back. So thank you for that information, Melanie, and I'll let Evan take over again.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure why I got bumped out, but I'm back. I didn't hear anything that Melanie may have said in that last moment.
Unanimous votes for yourself as chair and for myself as vice chair.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. The votes, of course, are appreciated. Thank you, everybody, for getting those in. I look forward to working again with Lorena as vice chair and with all of you on the CAC. It was a busy year in 2020, and I look forward to completing and working more on a lot of the work that we started last year. I think we're going to have a great year together. And certainly, as the chair, I do make myself available to everybody who has comments, complaints, or anything they want to talk to me about. And certainly that has happened many times this year, and I will continue to do so in the coming year. Thank you. Okay, so we're now going to go on to item number 5 on our agenda. For this item, there's a few different sub-items, if you will. We're not going to take public comment after each sub-item, just after all of these together. So I did want to let our public attendees know that. We're also not necessarily going in the order of these sub items. We're going to try to get rid of some that may be easier to address and less time consuming than others. And we're gonna basically work on all the things that we have going on this year to get a good solid start to 2021 and make sure that we're on the right track for doing the work that we need to do. So the first of these things that I wanted to take a look at are the meetings that fall on a holiday. One is July 5th and one is September 6th. And we wanted to discuss with our administrative staff and Ms. Navarro and of course the CAC, what dates you would like to reschedule those for since they fall on holidays. So let's look at July 5th. And July 5th is the first Monday. Does anybody have any suggestions as going to the next Tuesday or the 6th or any other suggestions that somebody has regarding the rescheduling of that hearing?
I almost found myself saying, well, you know, people go on vacation a lot around 4th of July and we don't want to get into additional days. So I don't know if that's still relevant. Maybe it might be in the summer. So my recommendation would to be the 12th.
The following Monday?
Mhm.
Okay, that's great. Does anybody else have other ideas or suggestions or want to move it to the next day, which would be the 6th? Is everybody, what are some thoughts?
I think Loreza's idea is better because also if something happens and people are able to go on vacation this summer, there's a lot of catch up that goes on, especially in administrative jobs, catching up on emails and stuff. So I feel like having it the 12th would be a lot better for everyone, including our members of the public.
Okay. Is there anybody on our CAC who does not want it on the 12th, who thinks it should be a different day, moved earlier, closer to the original date? Does anybody else have other ideas about that?
Nope. Like
Alma
the
saying
12th.
no, Jose no, Dora no. David, that
No.
was a no?
No.
Okay. Did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody. I think I got it. Okay, so Adriana, Melanie, Carleen, are there any issues moving it to the 12th? Is that good with everything? Yeah, Melanie, okay.
Fine
Okay,
with me.
then unless I hear any opposition, let's have our July 5th meeting on July 12th. Okay, the next one is September 6th. September 6th is Labor Day. The following Monday would be September 13th. We could do it Tuesday the 7th, but listening to the comments last time, it's very much a similar situation. I see some shaking heads nodding affirmatively. Does
I
anybody
also
have
like-
any?
Evan.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I also think it's good for consistency so that people are aware, you know, when it's a holiday. I mean, we can't make that rule, but when it's possible, I think going to the next Monday would be good for consistency.
That is fine. You know, I would also note that the September 7th date is actually a high holiday for members of the Jewish religion. Rather than having any conflicts on that day, I think moving it to September 13th is a good idea. And yes, consistency is great with that. Monday, September 13th for our September 6th meeting. Does anybody have any issues or actually, you know what? Hold on, let me check something. No issues. Okay, does anybody have any objections to the 13th of September being our date for the 6th? Seeing no hands moving with opposition. David, are you okay with that since we can't see you?
I'm good with that. Yes.
Okay. So hearing no objections, September 6th meeting will now take place on September 13th. Okay. The next thing I wanted to go to is what's listed as the last one of this subdivision, which says goal setting for our recommendations. Right now on the CAC this year, we've, with the amazing help of our interns and that program, have evaluated policies of all 58 counties in California, specifically relating to de-escalation, use of force by various means, anywhere from verbal up to escalating with physical contact, tasers, guns, canines. We're looking at various ways in which force can be used and evaluating that for our policy recommendations. We're also comparing now the training on those policies, and not just what the policies are, but how the training manuals are used and how the agencies are trained based on those policies. And so we wanted to find out from the CAC and kind of figure out what our goal should be for the actual making of these recommendations. What goal, what month do we want to set where we are actually presenting some recommendations to the Sheriff's Department? Does anybody have thoughts on that?
No.
David, I can hear you saying something, but you're not coming in very strong.
Yeah, I don't really have any thoughts on it. No.
Okay. What, as far as the work that we've been doing with the interns, you know, what we need to do to make these policies is going to be done. A lot of work is going to be done in our ad hocs, which we'll be talking about more soon. What I think may be a good idea, and I'd like to hear some comments, is if the ad hocs, once they are reformed and get together, at one of the first ad hoc meetings, maybe come up with some solid goals so that you can take those goals to the broader CAC and other members. And then perhaps as a CAC, once we know what our ad hocs are doing, we can come to more of a decision on dates and deadlines. Does anybody think that way of doing it with the ad hocs first and then presenting it would be different?
I think that's exactly how we should do it, specifically because the ad hocs are working more, digging into more of the research, and we have the interns who are assisting us. So I feel like the meat of everything should come from the ad hoc, and then we should request feedback from the CAC and then have like a draft proposal that we would then bring forth and vote on to maybe get input from the public, and then provide it to the sheriff's office, and also work with Colleen in that process. Okay. And then the other thing that I just wanted to mention also while we're thinking about that is our last ad hocs that we formed were the de-escalation and the use of force ad hocs. Those were done in June. And for our ad hoc meetings, they're supposed to be temporary, short-term ad hoc groups. So perhaps when we get together with the with those ad hocs, we can try to think of goals around the June mark, around that time period, so that the work of our ad hoc is concluded in a short time and not considered more than an ad hoc, because we do want to keep everything legitimate as far as the ad hocs and how they're operating and the timelines that they operate under. Yeah, and
One thing I want,
sorry,
excuse me, 1 second. One thing I wanted to also put out there is that this team of interns will be graduating in May, hopefully, right? And Abby has already graduated, so we only have the 3. So that may be a consideration as well for you, as much as you rely on their help. So,
yeah, that's very good information to have. Okay, so for that one, which is the goal setting for recommendations, let's do this. When we have our ad hocs meet next time, each ad hoc should figure out what goal they are setting for themselves for some recommendations about your recommendations. And then when we get together as a CAC, a whole CAC, we can then solidify those and have a more of a solid direction going forward with an end goal. That sound okay for everybody?
Yes,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
because ad hocs are short term, we should remember that we should try to have something. So maybe by like our 1 year mark, we should have some kind of recommendation and provide something in writing showing what we've been working on and what we're bringing forward to the CAC overall. So make it like maybe an annual basis thing, so we have something to work towards, or like a timeline to work towards.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great idea. Thank you. Let's go from there to discussing our ad hocs. I know that there's some discussion about a new ad hoc, as well as some people wanted to perhaps switch their ad hocs. So let's open up those discussions. Jose, I'll turn it over to you. We wanted to talk a little bit about a new ad hoc committee, and I'll turn that over to you to talk to the CAC about that.
Thank you, Evan. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. You know, one of the original reasons that I actually joined the CAC was my interest in really getting the word out there of what the CAC is and what ILERO is and how they coincide with one another. So, and I come from HSD, and I mean, being such a large department, I was actually surprised how many people in the community didn't know how many of the programs we had. So I know that communication and actually outreach to the community is vital, even in big programs. So, you know, for something that's, you know, a smaller department like ILERO, to know what they do, I think is very crucial. So I'm hoping to be a lead in the outreach committee. And obviously because of COVID, it's not going to be predicated on outreach. It's going to be predicated more on inreach. So what that means really will be attending certain meetings, community meetings, having a pulse on what the community is through the meetings with other community-based organizations. The other one is actually really promoting through small videos of what ILERO is, some success stories, and doing some testimonials. And then actually when we really find out what our long-term normal is going to be, or post-COVID, whatever that new normal is going to be, really make a strategic communications plan. And I'm really hoping to get the help of Dora and David and whoever else would like to join me in getting this started.
Thank you, Jose. And I do want to clarify for our CAC and for the public here as well. What Jose is looking for are members of the CAC who want to be part of an outreach group. It's not officially an ad hoc committee for outreach. Our work as the CAC and outreach to our community is year-round, all the time. It's not short-term. It's not something that's temporary. So in addition to our ad hoc committees, which are focusing on specific things short-term, we wanted to see which members wanted to assist more really with outreach and assist in the videos and doing these things, not as an ad hoc committee, but just assisting Jose and the others with more outreach for the CAC and on behalf of ILERO. So if there are people who are interested in that, please contact Jose. I see Dora's hand raised. I know Jose.
Well, can I just say a little? Please. I know that I have brought this up because I'm a big advocate for focusing on people's strengths, what they're good at and what they really enjoy and what they thrive in. And I like research, it's fun, but I prefer outreach and I prefer being out in the community and talking to people. So that's what really, really motivates me. So I thought this was a good discussion for the CAC to have, to make sure that we use each other's strengths as best as possible, and that way be the best CAC that we can.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It's been difficult with COVID and everything as far as doing outreach and stuff, but certainly I'm the same way. I definitely want to be out in the community, talking with people, seeing what they need from the CAC, what they hear about the CAC, what they can tell us about their experiences with law enforcement, and making sure that our community knows who we are, what we do, how we can assist them. Yeah, I agree. It's important for those who want to help with outreach to make it known to Jose and let him know that you want to participate so that he can include you on the videos and the different things that you are planning. So anybody who is interested in that, please reach out to Jose, email him or call him. And outreach will be a very big part and something we're going to try to do much more, even though we are restricted with COVID and things like that.
Can I just say something before we move on?
Yep. Please, Lorena.
I'm just really glad because this is something that Dora has brought up, not, many times. So I know it's something that's near and dear to her heart. So Jose coming on to the CAC a little later than some of us, it just shows you, the strength of another person that shares that passion. And what I love about it is, like you say, it's not an ad hoc, but there's intentionality, right? That we're more intentional about how to outreach, communicate opportunities to outreach, and then being more intentional in getting that messaging out. So like I said, I know it's something Dora's been talking about for a while, and I'm so glad that Jose is part of it. I think David too, but just saying, I'm glad that we found a way. I mean, we literally were like head into it, and then the pandemic happened. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to do outreach, and we basically said, here are some upcoming community meetings. Everybody go to these meetings, tell them about CAC, tell them about Iolero. Go to the Windsor Town Council, go to Healdsburg, go to all the different communities. And then sure enough, COVID hit and we couldn't go anywhere. Yes, for those on the CAC who are passionate about the community outreach, as many of us are, this is going to be great in ways that we can still focus that while dealing with the pandemic and restricting us. So yes, thank you, Dora. Thank you to everybody. And Alma, yes.
I have a quick question or suggestion. I think the outreach, I would definitely want to be part of the outreach. My question is more like adding more ad hocs and more, I know we don't have too many of us, but there's a couple of ad hocs that I'd like to add or ideas that I'd like to bring out. Is there any way that we could do a survey or something within us, or maybe with the community, as to what things are important to the community right now? Because maybe last year there were some things going on, but this year there's other issues that are going on. And one thing that's always interested me, and that I've always wanted to work on, is on the hiring and promotion procedures. That's something that from the first that I started, I've always wanted to work on that. I've never had the opportunity to do that because there's been other ad hocs on different things, but maybe could we do a survey or something, not just with us, but maybe the community, just asking, what's important right now in our community to be looking at.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Alma. And, I will say that just so you know, and the public knows, we do have a discussion coming up regarding the hiring practices of the sheriff, how they go through the hiring process. We are planning on having a meeting about that. Similarly, we are planning on having a meeting on the termination and the firing process as well. So those are some meetings that we have planned in the future for the CAC. But more specifically, we have our compliance, rather our de-escalation and our use of force / compliance ad hocs. Those are very much interchangeable. We often talk about de-escalation and use of force together, since the use of force automatically includes the attempt and the need for de-escalation before you get to the use of force. I know our sheriff's department has told Colleen and has mentioned to us that they are working on the overreaching de-escalation policy. So I think it's a good idea. I'm definitely open to hearing suggestions on other ad hocs that we can focus on. The outreach is not an ad hoc. Outreach is something we're going to be doing just generally. Those who are more interested in it are going to put, additional efforts, but it's not an ad hoc. That's just ongoing work of the CAC. But I'm definitely open to suggestions of other ad hocs that we'd like to see, and certainly reaching or opening that up to the community as well, and finding out what they'd like to see. Jose, yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you for clarifying that. Yes, it's not going to be an ad hoc. It's going to be an ongoing effort, as we see fit based on community issues. So yes, please feel free to email me any ideas you may have about youth groups, about any other community meetings that you think that we should attend. And really what I'm going to do is be an organizer of these thoughts and then just really start to plan them out, like Lorena said, be intentional about these outreach events. And of course, with the challenges of COVID right now. But thank you for that clarification, Evan.
Of course. And then Alma, going back to, a little bit of your point, I know our ad hocs are doing work now to make recommendations based on our interns' work in these specific ad hocs. But again, that ends in June. Those ad hocs are up in June. I'm certainly open either now or if we want to closer to when those ad hocs may be ending, figuring out what our next ad hoc should be, what should be our next focus. Certainly, I'm open to having the community survey to hear what our community is wanting us to look at and focus on with the ultimate goal of making recommendations to the sheriff's department on those issues. Hiring and firing is a great one. And we are having meetings specifically relating to that. And after we have those meetings, those may very well be something where we say, you know what, these policies need work. Let's focus on this. Are there others, Alma, that you thought may be good additions or other ad hoc suggestions you had?
I do have other ones. I actually wrote them all down. I'll just email them to you and Colleen and our Adriana.
Okay. And
does that sound okay?
One of the other things I wanted to say is that with regard to outreach, there are a lot of opportunities. There was a Martin Luther King event that recently happened. It was a great event and it was super interesting. The woman that spoke was actually the daughter of Mr. Abernathy, who was a partner with Dr. King. And I spoke to one of the organizers today. She's gonna get me a copy of the bit of the recording. They haven't posted it yet, but as soon as they have it posted, I'll send it to you. It was fascinating. The city of Santa Rosa has a violence prevention awareness series that they are doing, and I've been attending those meetings. So there's a lot of opportunity to have presence and then get connections with people to be able to talk about IOLERO. So that's just part of the whole process.
Can I ask something too? Oh, do you want to go ahead, Loris?
I was just going to say for Jose, as you're thinking about this, if you could also think about like talking points, right? So if we go to something, we can, talk about, like, I'm on one committee, but I don't know as much what's going on like in another committee. So if we could have some, one sheet or something that when we do go to meetings that we can have, that would be helpful.
Evan, so you're saying this cannot be an ad hoc because it's ongoing, but my thought behind it is that would it be possible to have it as an ad hoc, not like the ongoing work, but the plan making, that a short-term ad hoc where we develop a plan and what Loris just asked, like talking points, a plan, translations, material in Spanish, things like that?
I think if the ad hoc was created for the sole purpose of creating a plan for the effective outreach of the CAC, and then once that plan was made, that ad hoc was dissolved and we're just back at the CAC, that fits the definition of an ad hoc committee. What we can't have is an ad hoc committee that is having regular meetings regarding outreach, then doing the outreach, but that's kind of going on year round. We have to have the ad hoc be limited in scope and limited in time. So I think, Dora,
that's how I originally thought it would work.
So have an ad hoc for people who are wanting to do the outreach plan to come up with an overall plan that is then created for how to effectively do our outreach or in reach rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like that if it is possible.
I believe yes, that is possible for the creation of an ad hoc for the short-term limited purpose of creating a plan for effective outreach. Yeah, does anybody else agree that we should do that for that purpose? David, are you good with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That sounds great.
Do we have members of our CAC presently who would like to join that ad hoc, and we'll call it the Outreach InReach Plan ad hoc?
Strategic plan.
Limited in scope,
like that.
limited in time. Dora, we have Jose,
Yeah.
Alma,
Yes, I would like to also.
and David. Okay, so, well, let me check. I'm not sure. Are we allowed to have, we cannot presently have 5.
Right, but you're gonna have more soon.
Yeah, so right now we can only have 4 members presently because we cannot have a majority of the CAC. Wait, let me double check.
Our chairs, just to be clear, when you're talking about the numbers, the ad hoc can function without a chair or vice chair.
Correct, yeah, the ad hoc can only have currently 3 people. We only have 7 CAC members right now, and the ad hoc cannot have a majority of our members or else there are Brown Act issues. So currently, we can only have 3 individuals on the newly formed ad hoc. Once we have new appointments by the Board of Supervisors and by Colleen, and we're up at 11, we can then have up to 5 on an ad hoc. That's my understanding. Is that correct, Adriana?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the time being, is there one of the people who wanted to be on it who does not wish to be on it until we get more members?
Well, I can wait. I'm super busy, so I could wait a little bit.
Okay. Okay, David. And David, don't wait too long. Once we get new members, we want you to join this ad hoc again and
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to be.
Okay, so the newly formed ad hoc right now is an ad hoc for purposes of making a plan for in-reach and outreach for, effective, a plan for how we want to do that effectively and with intent. And it's going to initially start with Dora Estrada, Alma Roman Diaz, and Jose Landaverde. Great, wonderful. Alma, you're going to email some other ideas to us as far as additional ad hocs that we'll look into. For now,
Evan,
yeah, Lorena.
I actually wanted to ask Alma if she could just read them out since we're having a discussion about planning, so that way we could start thinking about it, and maybe the community members present right now can hear about these ideas. If they have any other suggestions, they can email us about it or mention it during public comment or things like that, just so we kind of know what Alma's brainstorming.
Yeah, Alma, that's good point.
Let me see if I can find my paper that I was writing that I wrote them all on.
But
is it something that we're going to open up? Is it a topic that we're going to open up to discussion right now for the community?
Yeah, we
because
have
if it is
to discuss, but we're not discussing it with the community later. It's just for all of us to kind of plan for like the upcoming year when our other ad hocs are up. And I just wanted to add to what you said about the hiring and firing. I think it's a great idea to have ad hocs later on about those. And I think it will be better to have them later so that we could hear some, depending on who we have as panelists or how those meetings run. And if the community has anything that they want to share with us that we should be taking into consideration, or the sheriff's office has anything to share, that way we kind of gather our information and then see if it's something where we actually need to form an ad hoc or not. But I do think those are 2 really important topics. I just think we need more information on who we need to get involved in and things like that, and what we want to look at specifically, but definitely taking notes on those for sure.
Okay, I don't have the list with me, but I will email it. And let me see. I don't have my usual computer today, so I'm having a hard time finding it.
That's fine. If you
Um,
find it, let us know. In the meantime, if you find that, let us know, because that is a good point to kind of pre-vet those, to kind of get some thoughts going on what those are. In the meantime, though, while you're looking for that, or if you happen to find them, I know that right now we have our 2 ad hocs, which we've been doing work on. We definitely don't want to disband those or take those away now.
No, and that was not my idea.
Cool.
My idea is to looking at the future as to what other ones are we going to start looking at, like in a little bit.
So we'll continue to have that discussion and get those emails, and we'll bring this up again in the future to discuss that. As
It
far
could
as
be an agenda topic for the next meeting, like
Perfect.
that. So.
Mm-hmm. And I guess maybe that was my idea, is to have it as an agenda topic for like maybe next meeting, is to talk about the different, I guess it would be more like things that are currently going on. And to tell you the truth, one of the things that one of the reasons why I was thinking about just more current events, and frankly, it's because of what happened on the 6th of January. And just looking at police culture, hiring process, discipline process, and looking at all that is what made me really, it came back to mind. It's something that I've been thinking about a long time. And having gone through the process, I understand it a little bit. But that's one of the reasons that I thought, because it's something that I've thought about a lot.
And Alma, what also add on that, we're part of that is like about diversity and inclusion and equity, and how does recruitment look?
Oh no, all those things were on my list, but like I said, I can't find my list right now. It wasn't something that I was planning to really talk about, and nothing I had really prepared. But if you want, I can prepare something for next meeting.
Email us generally, and certainly I think maybe we can add that on as an agenda item to follow up on future ad hocs that we may want to see, and that our community members may want to see.
Yeah, I was just going to finish with that and say also culture, because you can recruit, but if it's not a culture where people feel that they want to work and be there, that's really important. And right now there's so much equity, inclusion, diversity work. And what I keep saying, it doesn't matter if you just recruit and you hire and you hire and you hire, if people don't have a workplace. And I'm not saying that, that is a workplace, but I'm just saying if people don't have a workplace, especially people of color, where, we need to diversify law enforcement, and what does that look like? So, I don't know but that's just another topic that really touches on what Alma's already talking about.
And that's exactly what, I mean, in a way, it all comes together. And when you talk about law enforcement culture, it is its own culture. And everyone that's in law enforcement knows that you have, it is its own culture. And to me, that's something that, it's something that's a strength, but it also could be a weakness, and it also hinders a lot of community involvement in the process. And I think it's a topic that we can continue discussing, but I think for me, like I said, what really brought it to light was just seeing that day and seeing what happened, and like I said, that's what made it relevant to like, okay, maybe this is something that we should be discussing. It's something that's been in the back of my mind. And like I said, it's been in the back of my mind, but I think it's something that it's important to discuss.
Yeah,
and a lot of law enforcement there on January 6th. There was a lot of law enforcement.
And you know what? Even before people said it, I knew there was. It's like you know there was. And I think it's something that's important, something that we need to discuss.
Very much, very much. And yeah, let's make that a future calendar agenda item to discuss future ad hocs and hiring and firing. Again, the hiring is going to be one meeting, the termination process and everything is going to be another. But beyond that,
promotion.
Yeah,
promotion also.
Hiring, promotion, recruiting, training, firing, all of that. So we are going to discuss that, and certainly may open it up to a more focused ad hoc as well. But we'll definitely discuss that more.
And Evan, I think we should invite the community to, if if they have any ideas that during the public comment time on item 5 regarding our discussion on our, future plans for the CAC, if any members of the public have any ideas on future ad hocs or things that we should be looking into, you can mention it during the public comment time. That's immediately following this item before we get into item number 6 on the agenda.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Let's go there now. I want to turn to what's labeled as meeting facilitators. So one of the things that some of us were talking about and thinking about is that for the various meetings that we have, sometimes the meetings are on a topic that is a topic that somebody is very passionate about, or a topic that somebody really wants to take a part of. And so I was opening it up to see if the CAC would like to do something where, instead of me basically chairing all the meetings and facilitating all the meetings with Lorena, if different meetings had different people on the CAC leading them for purposes of those discussions. So that one meeting, for example, hiring or firing, Alma, that you might facilitate that meeting and help with the planning of that meeting, and then at the meeting, help facilitate it. Lorez, on another meeting that you are interested in, hey, yeah, that's something I really have a passion about. I'd like to lead that one. Is there anybody on the CAC who either does not like that idea, likes that idea, thinks we should stick to the way we are, or change it up? I'm opening it up to hear some comments on that.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, thank you, Dora. And Lorez, I see a thumbs up from Lorez. David?
I like the way it's going now.
You like the way it's going now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And by David, by that you mean like the chair and the vice chair leading them, with others just participating as needed?
Sure. And then if someone has something, they could, jump in for a while and say their piece. But I think it's good structure now.
But you're not talking about the entire meeting, Evan, right? You're talking about you and Lorena still guide the meeting, but when it's time to get into that content, if you're particularly passionate about the content, or help with that, that's what you're talking about. So it could be totally voluntary.
Yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
Like round robin and say, well, now it's your turn.
No. It means, for example, when we know there's the hiring, for example, the hiring recruitment practice coming up. And Alma, if that's something she wants to do, she would let us know, I'd like to facilitate that part of the meeting. Or if we know that Alma is interested in this topic, we could ask, and Alma could certainly say yes or no. Would you like to facilitate this part of the meeting? It's nothing that would be something assigned or that somebody doesn't want to do. It would really just be on, for example, hosting meetings or facilitating meetings that you have an extra interest in or somewhat of a passion about.
Well, that makes sense. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you put it like that. Sure.
Okay. So, for example, then like, I'll put it out there then, when we as a CAC discuss our next meetings, for those of you who see something that you are interested in or passionate about, let myself or Lorena know, and we can then say, okay, yeah, you want to facilitate this? Great. Here's who our panelists are. Here's who's attending, and we'll have you do that. And that, I think that'll be great. It will allow our public to have people besides me and Lorena hosting their meetings, and it will allow us to take more part in something we may be a little bit more passionate about. So we'll make that an option for meetings going forward.
I love the idea, Evan, and I think it also keeps the rest of us engaged, in having our sections and having passions brought out.
Great. Alma, I did want to mention something, just going back, when you have your list of the various ad hocs that you want to present, can you just send it to me or to Lorena or or Adriana? We can't do mass emails to everybody.
Yeah, I understand.
We may run into some Brown Act issues, but when I say email, never email everybody, just email myself or Lorena or both of us, but never everybody at the same time.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see here. And all right. And I will, just talking about that same subject, when we're looking at the meetings, we have planned out our next few meetings. We did send out the topics in the January newsletter that was sent out to everybody. So please look at that newsletter. You'll see the topics that we have planned going in several months into the future. If there's something on there that somebody wants to facilitate, if you look at it and you say, you know what, that's one that I want to lead, just let me know. Let me or Lorena or both of us know, and we can definitely have you a part of the planning meeting and have you facilitate that that meeting going forward. Okay. Okay. There's something on our planning discussion that says CAC meetings. It talks about what that says and what that's regarding is the difference between informational gathering meetings and community forums. So for example, when we do the upcoming meeting with Lexipol, that is an informational gathering CAC meeting. That is a Brown Act meeting that we have where we are having panelists who are giving us information. Those panelists can be members of law enforcement. They can be civilians, professors. They could be members of our community, researchers, lawyers, anybody who can provide information to the CAC on a specific topic. Lexipol one, the hiring and firing one, those are informational gathering meetings where we are listening to our panelists, and then as a CAC, taking the information we learn, going into our ad hocs, and figuring out what we do with that information to form the policies that we ultimately recommend for the Sheriff's Department. The other type of CAC meetings that we are intending to have in the upcoming year are what will be known as community forums. And those are going to be similar to the forums that we held recently after and regarding the protests when George Floyd was killed, regarding the protests and the civil unrest in Sonoma County. When we had those long 4 or 5+ hour meetings where we were listening to our community, taking information from our community about relevant current events and important topics for us to listen and for us to hear our community. That's the other type of community forums that we will be having. So moving forward, we are going to have 2 different kinds of meetings. And the reason that comes from listening to our community, understanding that they want to have these forums occasionally to bring up topics and to discuss in-depth topics relating to our community. And then there's other meetings where we need the information to best serve our community by making the recommendations for the sheriff. And so if anybody has any comments about that, I'm opening to the CAC now to take those comments. But I did want to let the CAC know and also our community know going forward what those 2 different types of meetings will look like. Does anybody have questions about that or additional comments or anything like that? No? Okay.
I just wanted to say that I think that's great to clarify. And I also think that if at any moment something crazy happens in the county and we need to have a community forum, that it's not going to replace one of our like monthly regular meetings unless somehow it fits in. But otherwise, I feel like if we need to have a meeting in 2 weeks because something happens tomorrow, that the community should be aware that opportunities like that will happen and we'll let them know. But we're not replacing or taking away anything. There's no confusion on that.
Yeah, that's correct. And again, you know, our January newsletter did have all the topics so people can look ahead. I will note that there is still, currently there is a review underway of the police response to the protests that took place in our community. Although that very much involves the Santa Rosa Police Department and not the jurisdiction or the Sheriff's Department with Iolero, our community is very invested in those protests, in their activism, in what happened, and what they witnessed and experienced at the hands of law enforcement and during those protests. And so even though it does not specifically relate always and all to the sheriff, we will be having a community forum when that report comes out so that we can hear our community and their response to the report. We will try to hear from the subjects of the report if they're willing to come and talk to us. We're going to make it more of a community forum than an informational gathering meeting. That's not on the calendar yet because we don't know when that report will be released, but we are intending when it is released soon after that to have another community forum regarding that because we do know it is important to members of our community. But yeah, I mean, we have a good amount of stuff planned into the future as far as our meetings and community forums. Please, if there's anybody on the CAC or in the community that has suggestions on other topics, email myself, email Lorena, email Colleen, you as the public, email all of us, and we'll take those under consideration for our next community discussions. Okay, if nobody else has comments on that, I'm going to go to, oh, okay. This one's real quick as well. If anybody has questions from our community that are submitted to the CAC, when we put a call out for agenda items, if anybody's received emails from the community, email comments, if there's any topics that you want to address based on information you've received from our community members, please suggest that when we are doing our planning meetings. Also, when the questions are submitted from the public, if you have received a question submitted from the public and at the public meeting, that person may not say something publicly, please, as the CAC member who received that comment, please feel free to ask those questions and bring that topic up at our CAC meetings so that members of our public are best being heard and so that they know when they submit questions that we are not just reading them, but we're also addressing them. So if you get something, please let us know and please let's bring it up and talk about it. Okay. Okay, lastly, and I know it's listed first, but I wanted to talk about it last because I don't think this is anything we're going to decide tonight. But we would like, now that IOLERO and CAC are more independent of one another and more independent just generally under Measure P, IOLERO has their mission statement. And what I'd like to do and like for us to think about is what we would like the CAC mission statement to be, the new CAC mission statement, taking into account our role under Measure P and what we do under Measure P. Measure P was attached to one of the emails that we've received, and certainly Measure P is available and can be obtained. If any one of you needs a copy, email me or Colleen, and we'll send you Measure P right away. It's about 9 pages. What I'm asking everybody to do, and certainly review, is reviewing the new Measure P, and then reviewing also the CAC bylaws that we have. And what I'd like to do is put on a new agenda item, perhaps for the next meeting, Adriana, suggestions for our mission statement. You know, in Measure P, looking at section 2-392, it says what the mission of IOLERO is. And it lists 5 things that have the mission of IOLERO. It also talks about the CAC and the formation of the CAC in section 2-397. So in that, it talks about the IOLERO purpose of the CAC and why we have the CAC and what the CAC is supposed to do. And so I'd like our members to take a look at the CAC bylaws, our Measure P, and IOLERO's mission, and come up with a new mission statement for the CAC. And so I guess that's homework for us, is just to each think about that. And at the next meeting, I'd like to take some suggestions on a new mission statement moving forward as a CAC together. And again, the good places to start, Measure P, our bylaws, IOLERO's mission, and of course, just generally what you think we should be doing and how you want to best convey that mission statement to the public, such that when they look at it, they know the CAC's mission is, and they know exactly what we're going to do in our community and for our community. So I'll put that out there and look forward to your suggestions.
And I just wanted to invite the public, because we know that the Evelyn Cheatham ordinance was started through members of the community. So if there's any specific mission statements that or ideas that we could maybe use to create a final version, if you could email those to us, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. If our members of our public were vital, we're essential, we're the reason we have Measure P the way we have it. And so certainly if you have mission statements, please send your suggestions. Myself, Lorena, all of us, to Colleen, we'll review them. And again, at the next meeting, let's have an agenda item on the selection of our mission statement.
If any of you on the board need a copy of the bylaws or a copy of it, just send me a message and I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Be happy to send them out.
And I think everybody has our binders. I know it's been a while since we haven't been in public, but if everything's in our binders,
It should be in your binder.
It's been hard since we haven't been gathering together, but take a look and definitely if you need copies, ask myself or Adriana or any of the other members. Okay.
Evan.
Yeah, Dora.
I also want to add that for your ideas in the mission statement, to try and think about a statement that is accessible and can be easily translated and that everyone could understand, can really get the point across. Because sometimes I've seen, this is my own personal opinion, but sometimes I've seen where some statements are a little complex, and when you want to share it with the community, you want to make sure that it doesn't scare people away, kind of thing.
I agree 100%. And yes, our mission statement should speak to all community members and be such that our community members, when they read that mission statement, know exactly who we are and what we do. For all of our community. And thank you, Dora. That's a very good point. Yeah. Any other comments on that? Okay. So now I would like to open up to public comment, and I'm only opening up public comment for people to comment on the last planning discussions for 2021. So the issues we discussed, mission statement, are informational versus community forums, and not versus, but in addition to community forums, our ad hoc committees, meetings on the holiday, questions submitted to us, and our goal setting. So if anybody in our public has public comment on the issue alone, please raise your hand and we will call you for your 2-minute public comment. And I do see a couple of people raising their hands. The first person I see is Nancy. Please go ahead and speak when they are when you're able to on the app.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm Nancy Pemberton, and I'm wanted to make a couple of comments. I sent you actually an email about your planning, and I noticed that Measure P was not actually mentioned by anybody until the very end. And there are specific parts of Measure P that CAC members are supposed to address. And so I'd like to know what you're going to do about educating yourselves about the NACOL Code of Ethics, how you're going to increase public participation in informing you of the police policies and practices of the Sheriff's Department. You last year spent a great deal of time having interns research what other sheriff's offices and what other law enforcement agencies have done, but I think that you would do better to spend some time listening to what the public would like those policies to be. Do you plan to ask for a portion of IOLERO's increased budget for you all to become more proactive in implementing your statutory objectives? And how will you work with Colleen to ensure that IOLERO's new authority and responsibilities are implemented? Those are the things that I would like to see you work on this year and setting your plans for 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. I do want to ask Adriana, it was something that I was thinking about as well that Nancy just brought up. Can we add an action item? And if anybody else disagrees with this or does not want an action item, or not an action, but a future agenda item, because CAC is independent from IOLERO, one of my questions that I did have and that I was intending to discuss is the financing. Whether the CAC has a budget separate from IOLERO and how we address and access that, or if whatever we do as the CAC is part of the IOLERO budget, I apologize, if not separate from CAC. So I know IOLERO has a percentage of the sheriff's budget. I do want as a future agenda item to address CAC and specific financing for our in-reach outreach and how that may be affected.
Yes, we should add that to a future agenda.
Great, thank you. Okay. Next, I see, I believe that's Jim Duffy again. It's a number starting with 703. That's you, Jim?
Yes, it's me. Thanks.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, so first, the mission statement, I think, is pretty well covered in section 2-397A, the purpose of the CAC. So I encourage you guys to look pretty heavily at that. It's pretty robust as it is. So I don't think you need to spend a whole lot of time on mission statement. The other 4 things I have is I'm thrilled that you are now taking comment on all items on the agenda, as many members of the public have been asking you to do for the last year. Now I encourage you to extend your meetings to the 2 hours that it was for the first 3 years of the CAC's existence, because you're going to need that extra time to hear from the public. So just get used to meeting for 2 hours, please, every month. I want to second Nancy's call for you guys to have a focus on Measure P implementation. I think that's a really good use of your time. It's a robust measure that the public passed, and you guys should really dig into it. Also, I suggest you take a look at Cahoots that is being piloted by the city of Santa Rosa and is going to be coming to the countywide eventually. And being that the sheriff's office is the other big fish in the law enforcement pond of Sonoma County, you guys being well-versed in Cahoots and being ready to help it come along would be a really good use of your time. And lastly, I want to second member Ramon Diaz's call for you guys to focus on hiring and promotion panels as were emphasized in the annual report. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Jim. And again, I will note for our members of our community and the CAC, right now we have planned in August of 2021 a meeting on the Cahoots model and discussing that model and its implementation. So we do have that on our future calendar. And as well, we do have the sheriff's hiring and diversity practices in May, and in June, the sheriff's discipline and termination process. So those are already calendared. They are items that and agenda topics that we will be addressing and focusing on as part of our work this year. Thank you, Jim. I see Barbara Grisecci, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that name, but Barbara, if you're available.
Yes, thanks
Great.
so much for taking the call and the time. One of the things that's really concerning to me, and I'm not sure where this would fall into ad hoc, but it was just recently the idea of hiring and promotion, and that is the pervasive amount of white supremacy that exists in law enforcement that we saw revealed on the January 6th reporting that we have now. And there've been, multiple, you don't have to Google very far to see all the investigative reporting that's uncovering both in law enforcement and also in our military force, these associations with white supremacy organizations. So I would like to know what the sheriff is doing in their hiring to make sure that they're making sure that we don't bring people onto the force that have those ties, that during promotion processes, their background is looked at once more to make sure that those haven't come up. And then what's the ongoing process for people that are just sitting in the force? We've never, if it's not being done when they're being hired, we have a whole force of deputies that we probably should do a look-see to make sure we don't have any bad apples in there. And it's just been very, very concerning to me. And I would hope that that would be a really important part of the work that gets done over the next year. Thanks.
You're not alone in your desire to have those issues addressed, and it is something we're going to be focusing on this year. Susan Lamont, when you are able to speak with the Zoom app, please go ahead, and you have 2 minutes for public comment on these issues.
Okay, the mission statement of the CAC must include the ideas that were stated when IOLERA was created, because those haven't changed. CAC was designed to take the lead on, quote, direct public testimony, to provide advice to law enforcement on policies and procedures, training methods and subject areas, trends and needs within the community. That is non-negotiable. I just heard the Vice Mayor say a little earlier, maybe get input from the public. That's totally unclear on the concept, and I hope she misspoke, because there is nothing you do that should not include the public. And related to ad hocs and to interns, only comparing our sheriff's office to other sheriff's offices instead of to best practices is unconscionable. You're doing this because that's what the sheriff wants, and the standards are lower. Claiming that studying more mediocre organizations is better than fewer good ones only works if you aren't trying to improve things. It's bad enough that both Director Navarro and Chair Zelig said this to the public, but it is even worse when students are led to believe that this is the better research method. And going back to my first point, where is the public's input in any of this? And lastly, agreeing with others, the reduction of meeting times essentially eliminated the equivalent of 3 meetings a year. As you can tell with this meeting, you need more than 1.5 hours. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm looking to see. Okay, I don't see any further hands up for public comment on this issue. Okay. 1 minute, let me grab my papers here. Okay, so now we are going to move on to item number 6, which is general public comment. Public comment now is reserved for items not appearing on this evening's agenda, but within the purview of the CAC and our subject matter jurisdiction. When you speak, please state your name and who you represent, if applicable. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes at the discretion of the CAC based on the number of comments and other factors. All are encouraged to engage in respectful communication that supports freedom of speech and values diversity of opinion. All members of the CAC staff and the public are encouraged to create an atmosphere of respect and civility where everyone is free to express their ideas within the time and content parameters established by the Brown Act and the CAC's standard parliamentary procedures, adhere to time limits for each individual speaker, and establish and maintain a cordial and respectful atmosphere during discussions. We want these public comments to foster meaningful communication free of attacks of a personal nature or any attacks based on somebody's age, disability, class, education level, gender identity, occupation, race and or ethnicity, or sexual orientation. Please listen with an open mind to all information, including dissenting points of views regarding issues presented by our public. Please recognize it is sometimes difficult to speak at meetings, so out of respect for each person's perspective, allow speakers to have their say without comment or body gestures, including any booing, whistling, or clapping. Okay, I will now open up to public comment. Again, this is general public comment, non-agenda items, and anything within our subject matter jurisdiction. Nancy Pemberton, please.
Hi, I just had a suggestion, and I would love to know how many members of the public are appearing at these meetings. Can you, I'm sorry? Did you hear me? No? Okay, hold on.
I can't hear you.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, I think. Hello?
Evan, we can hear her.
Sorry, I don't know why you.
I just got my audio. I can hear her.
Now I can. I apologize. At any rate, I was just thinking that because we are now meeting on Zoom, we don't get to know how many people of the members of the public are actually attending these meetings. And I don't know if you have the capability of telling us, but that would be a great thing to add to your, to the agenda. Just letting the public know how many of us are interested in coming to your meetings. Okay, thank you.
I think Melanie, do you include that on the minutes? If I could just intervene for a minute. I thought that's something that she includes, Nancy. Take a look at the minutes. They're posted on ILRO's website with the agendas.
Okay, I was just thinking it would be nice to know during the meeting.
Okay, it should be in there too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we do for the next meetings. This meeting's minutes will tell you how many people joined. That's not a bad suggestion. We're currently and the number changes all the time because people watch and drop out and come in later and so forth. But tonight we've had between 25 and 31 attendees from the public. Okay, Kathleen Finnegan, I see you raising your hand on the Zoom app. Go ahead and speak when permitted to do so, please.
Yes, thank you. I am Kathleen Finnegan. And I actually just have two qualifying questions or clarifying questions. One has to do with, the issue of the minutes. Now, normally public bodies have minutes available to the public. And I don't, if they're available, if the last meeting's minutes are available to me, I haven't seen them. And so I want to know why they're not being made available. And also, I'm confused about the appointment of CAC officers or members that are under Measure P will be the purvey of the Board of Supervisors for 10 of the 11 members, in which case I don't know when they are going to be making their appointments, but I am confused as to why elections for the next year have been held already. So I would like answers to those questions. As far as I know, the Brown Act does not prohibit panelists from answering questions.
So while it's not prohibited, it's generally not a question and answer session, but I will address this issue. The CAC chairs and vice chairs have to be reelected because our elections took place last year and our terms are close to ending. If the Board of Supervisors makes appointments that somehow affect the current election of people on the CAC, that can be addressed at a later time. We do expect that the Board of Supervisors will be making their appointments shortly. We don't have an exact time or date for that, but we do expect that shortly. And we will then see how, if at all, the composition of the current members has changed. But we were required to move forward with an election of a chair and vice chair based on our calendar and the election last year.
Okay, and what about the minutes?
I will look into the minutes as far as posting them, and I'll have Adriana and Colleen. We can discuss that as well.
The minutes are all posted on the website.
Okay, so
with the agendas.
They are posted with the agendas.
I didn't see the minutes on the agenda, so that's why I posed the question.
They post them once they've been approved, Kathleen, and Adriana can talk more about that.
The CAC approves the minutes. Once those are approved, the very next day, they are posted to the website with that meeting's agenda. So the December minutes, that was our last meeting, those are not yet posted because they were just approved tonight. So those will be posted this week, and then there are no minutes for January. Okay, so.
Okay, great. Moving on, I see Jim Duffy for public comment. Go ahead, Jim, when you are able to.
Thank you, Evan. Two announcements and one point of clarification. The announcements are, I just think folks should keep their eyes out. There was a front page article, I believe it was in Sunday's Press Democrat, that addressed a false report filed by a sheriff's deputy regarding church attendance happening. And, you know, it's kind of a big deal to me when you have sheriff's deputies filing false reports. And so since nobody in your body chose to announce it, or the director, I wanted to announce it for the public. It's something to keep an eye on. Second is on February 9th, the supervisors are going to be holding a hearing on the Truth Act. It's legislatively required, or statutorily, required hearing, and the Truth Act is the sheriff's cooperation with ICE. And for folks who have in the past and feel like, boy, it's been a long time since we had one of those hearings, you're right, they forgot to have it last time. So this hearing is going to cover 2 years. And then just the point of clarification, I do believe, and feel free to check me with County Council, that you're supposed to put out the draft minutes so the public can see them and comment on them before you vote on them. And I think that's what Ms. Finnegan was referring to. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. We will look into that issue for clarification. Thank you. And the last hand I see raised is Susan Lamont for public comment. Susan, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, I was going to say the same thing that Jim did, is that draft minutes need to be out there because in the past we have had comments and corrections to make on the minutes. And so that's kind of what we've got used to. Additionally, I would really like to see, since many of us have signed up for the announcements of these meetings, that we would like to see them announced at the same time that they are put on the on your website, which is to be, you know, the Thursday before or the Friday before. We used to get emails to that effect. Now we're getting them a few hours before the meeting, and that's actually totally unacceptable, unless you're actually trying to discourage people from knowing about the meeting and coming. I mean, I know when it is. I know when to look it up, but a lot of people don't. I would also like to see something I've never seen, the announcement of the meetings on your Facebook page. I've gone many times. It's never there. That's an obvious place for the meetings to be announced. So I would like to see that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Before we conclude, I would note that when the IOLERO announcements go out, we do try to announce our meetings as far in advance as possible. Our January newsletter that went out in January has all of our meeting topics listed through August. We do post things on Facebook when they are announced. We do send updates and reminders about the meetings the day or two before the meeting. So there is definitely information being put out there about when our meetings are, what topics we are discussing, and certainly we do want that out as much as possible and are doing our best to do that. We believe we are giving sufficient notice of all meetings above and beyond what is required, and certainly want all of our community to participate if they're able to do so. Thank you, everybody, for the public comments. They are very, very much appreciated.
Evan, I just wanted to make clarification with regard to the Brown Act. We are required to post the minutes 72 hours, I mean, the meeting agenda 72 hours in advance. We are actually posting it 3 calendar days prior to the meeting, always on our website. we do send,
Business days, Adriana, not calendar days, business.
sorry,
days.
business days. I post them on the Wednesday prior to the Monday meeting. So, sorry. The other thing that we do, like today, an announcement went out as a courtesy to all of our email lists, just to kind of, hey, reminder, courtesy. Sometimes those are done a week in advance. Sometimes they're done that day. Sometimes they're done 4 days in advance, because that's just a courtesy email that we send. But as far as Brown Act requirements and all of the things that we're supposed to do, the meeting agenda is always posted on the Wednesday prior to the Monday meeting, just so you know. So we are following those requirements.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything on our CAC? Does anybody else have anything that they either want to add as an agenda item or bring up for discussion at this point? Okay, I see nobody in response. So I will go ahead and conclude the February meeting for the CAC. I look forward to seeing everybody soon at our ad hocs and our next CAC meeting. And let me actually take a look. Our next CAC meeting will be Monday, March 1st, 2021 at 6 p.m. Will be our March meeting. And I look forward to seeing everybody at that time.
Thank you, Evan. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
Good night.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you to all of our public for attending.